So the first thing that we want to do is we want to import the design file that I've included with this project. So here we have that image, and so let's just adjust a few things. I want to put this black and white effect, and that helps with the image trace. And then so we'll go ahead and click image trace, and then the software runs pretty quickly on that. We'll click save, and then you can just pull away the trace from that image, and let's just remove the image because we don't need it anymore. And you can see now we've got all the components where the software has made that trace. And what I want to do now is resize it, and I know that the design is going to be about 5 inches in diameter. And so we've got that set up, and you can see there's a few rough edges, and we'll take care of that later. But for now, we've got us a good outline of what we want to cut out. So the next thing that we want to do is create additional layers. So I'll start out by putting in a circle to create the base of this design. So since we're going to have pieces over here with the image that we imported, those pieces need something to be bound together on. So I'm setting this up, making that circle 5 inches by 5 inches, so we know it's consistent all the way around a 5-inch diameter circle. So I'll pull that down out of the way. Actually, no, I'll need that. We're going to use this circle to import the text to set that up, and it'll help us line it up because we're going to make this text curved. So we'll put in he is risen. We'll adjust the font, and you can just make this whatever you want. Of course, that's in the design file. And let's change it to engrave. And since this is going to go on top, I think it would be good to do an outline of it. So let's just start though by, we'll bend it to kind of match the curve of this circle. And this is where that circle comes in handy. It just helps us to kind of match that same curvature. And so just depending on your design and what what you're trying to achieve, you can adjust these, and I'm just kind of playing around, seeing what it looks like and getting what I think looks the best. So let's go ahead and do that outline and click OK. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get both the outline and the engraving, so I'm just going to move the circle out of the way for right now. Alright. Okay, so as I pointed out earlier, we do have some rough edges that we need to deal with. I think it'll just make it look better whenever we do the cutout. So to do this, I'm going to kind of just play around with some basic shapes and use the combine tool to merge these two shapes together. So the outline that the software drew around our image, I want to combine that with this shape to kind of smooth this section out. So you can see I kind of overlap it. I've selected the overall image trace, and then when I do a combine, it eliminates those sections that like protrude up into the shape that I overlap. So I'm doing the same thing with this rectangle. And I'm using the unite part of this tool because I'm actually adding to the shape. So if I'm wanting to take away like I'm going to do right here, I'm going to draw a circle inside of this to kind of round out this area. And see, I've got that little piece that's like poking up into what is being cut out. So I'm going to use this and subtract from this area inside, and then the software will remove that little projection. So you can see right here, hit subtract, and then now that's kind of smoothing that out. So you can see the process, just you carry on by just moving these shapes in here, chopping off the weird little artifacts that are created. And that's not the software, that's basically the image that I had was a little bit, had like some not sharp black and white edges. And so the software is just trying to trace where it sees the difference in the colors. So that's why that shows up. It's not like the software is not good at it. It's actually really good at making these traces. So, but you just work with the image that you've got, and we're just playing around. So you can see that helped that one out a lot. And we'll add in another rectangle, kind of smooth off this bottom side of it. All right. And then we'll do a combine. Alright, so the next thing is we need to set up the speed and the power settings for our laser. Of course, again, this totally depends on your laser. I'm using the D1 with a 5-watt laser, so I've actually created some presets in here and saved them. And so I've got a cut and an engrave for this basswood plywood. I know it's 3 millimeters, and I know I've got some settings here that work just good. So 100% on the power and the speed at 60 millimeters per second works really good for engraving, and 100% on power and 4 millimeters a second works really good for cutting, and I do 5 passes on any time I do a cut. So the next thing, we're just gonna cut this out on the laser, so nice and easy. Be sure you're always wearing your safety equipment when you're using your laser and using all the safety guidelines. So you can see here we've got all the pieces cut out, and the kids loved painting this one. So you can see we got all the pieces. I'm gonna kind of do like a rough fit here now that they're all painted before we do the glue up. And basically for alignment, you're just kind of working off of the edge, the outer edge of the circle, and that's basically all I'm using to line it up. And the words, the "He is risen" part, you just kind of freehand that and make it match, just whatever looks good. So we'll set all that aside, and now let's start putting all the glue on. So I'm just using some Gorilla Glue wood glue. This stuff's real strong, sets up pretty fast. So just add that on to the back. And I just kind of take my finger and smooth out. Try to make it a nice thin coat. This doesn't need a whole lot of glue. It's just kind of holding it in place. So and we really don't want any to squish out whenever we put it on there. So just drop it down in place, line it up, move on to the next piece, and do the same procedure. Yeah, I'm just kind of, raking off any of the excess, try to keep it from having a build up down in those tight areas. It'd be hard to get in and clean it out. So, and down to the last piece. One of the really amazing things about lasers is that you can cut out things like that cross, and it's such a thin piece of wood. There's no way you could ever cut that out with something like a band saw or scroll saw or something like that, but the laser can cut such a thin piece since it's not coming in contact with it. And now just same procedure on the final layer, which is the text. Just kind of work and line those up, and it's all complete. Hope you've enjoyed this project. Hope this is something that's fun for you and your children to do on Easter.